having your master cells from birth stored away and then available to be delivered to you during your lifetime will ultimately be an avenue to maintain and optimize your health well beyond your predicted lifespan. In the world of cellular medicine and regenerative therapies, the principal tools we use are living cells, and those living cells have fundamental biological characteristics that are relevant to our strategy to treat disease, enhance health, and augment the effectiveness of our different systems in our body. And one thing which is really clear is that the cells matter. And you can get cells from lots of different places. You can get cells from lots of different donors. You can have a donor that's 80 years old. You can have a donor that's 8 days old, 8 minutes old. There's no doubt that there's qualitative differences between the different ages of the donors and their different biological health at the time that you recover those cells. There's something remarkably powerful about using cells that are recovered at the instant of birth. First and foremost, I always say that when you recover cells from a healthy newborn, that healthy newborn has gone through nature's quality control process. What I mean by that is that anything which would have been potentially a lethal or near lethal abnormality in the underlying genetic material or biology of that donor will terminate that pregnancy prior to full term. And so donors that get all the way through full term pregnancy and are delivered healthy, one can think that they've met a certain fundamental standard of quality that ensures the cells are better than had you gotten them from alternative sources. Now, what are some of the characteristics of young cells from newborns that are so important? One of the things we recognize is that since we're interested in cells that are called stem cells, these are the cells that retain their versatile ability to mature and specialize into different cells of the body, these cells have to have high quality stemness. And stemness is the characteristic by which a cell can mature in a versatile way, but it also relates to the accessibility to transcribe or read and synthesize all the products that are encoded in the genome, that genetic code. The cells from newborns are known to have a higher degree of stemness than cells that are recovered from older donors. And so right out of the gate, cells derived from the postpartum placenta have a fundamental advantage over cells derived from adult or older donors. So that's number one. Number two, cells over the lifetime are exposed to things which damage DNA, damage that genetic material. That damage and those changes are often referred to as either mutations, either true damage that alters the integrity of the genetic code, or epigenetic changes. These are alterations in the genetic material, such as methylations and other chemical events, which change the transcribability or the readability of the genetic code and the translatability of that code into the products of the genetic code. Stemness, the integrity of the genome, the absence of those accumulated abnormalities, those mutations, those epigenetic changes, and the fact that newborn cells have long, uncorrupted telomeric ends, which is important to protect the genetic material from changes that occur during cell divisions and cell cycling and so on, and the fact that young cells are accompanied by young mitochondria. Mitochondria are the little respiratory engines that reside in every cell of our body, and the age of your mitochondria matters. The younger the cell, the younger the donor, the younger the cells, the more uncorrupted the genetic material, the greater the stemness of those cells, and the greater the health of the mitochondria. All of these things account for the superior nature of newborn cells compared to some of the other alternatives. Many of you know that today expectant parents have as one of their choices an opportunity to collect the stem cells that are left over in the placenta and the leftover blood in the placenta and umbilical cord, process and then store those cells for long periods of time as a tool or a resource in the event you need those cells for some of these regenerative medicine applications, a hematopoietic stem cell transplant, a bone marrow transplant, or the future is to use these cells to enhance or augment your system as you age. So one of the things that we're going to be talking about in future episodes is how the stem cells from birth, when collected, processed, and stored, and put into a state of suspended animation in our cryopreservation systems. These are systems that maintain living cells at minus 180 degrees centigrade, so almost the temperature of deep space. At those temperatures, these cells are completely dormant, and when thawed at any time in the future, months, years, decades later, those cells retain all of the characteristics and quality that they had when they went into cryopreservation at the time of birth. So consider that if your body during your lifetime is exposed to things which damage your cells, damage your genetic material, damage your stem cells, if you have a resource that's been stored away from birth that you can actually use to supplement or augment your system, you can restore a state of health that is superior to just your state at a specific age. So for parents who are looking at what they can do to protect, preserve, and defend the health of their children in their lifetime, one of the most actionable and easy to access ways of doing that is to collect the placenta and umbilical cord blood at birth, have it processed and stored by a leader in these fields, and have that resource available for the lifetime of your child. But it's something that I encourage all parents to take advantage of. In over 25 years of being in the newborn cell business, so to speak, I've never had a family who's decided to bank their children's newborn cells ever come back and say, wow, that was really a waste. I wish I never did this. But I have had numerous experiences where families have come and said, I made the mistake of not banking my child's cells, and I really wish that I had. So it's a once in a lifetime opportunity at the time of birth. And if you miss that opportunity, you may have missed a very important resource that could be used to protect and enhance the health of your child in their lifetime. We know today that newborn cells that are banked and processed in these cell banking programs can be made available at any time to be used to replace or repair damaged bone marrow that might occur as a consequence of cancer, viral infection, which leads to things like aplastic anemia, where your marrow is not producing normal blood cells, can be used to potentially enhance or augment your ability to fight certain infectious diseases, can potentially be used as a platform for gene editing technologies, so that if your child has an underlying genetic abnormality, you might be able to address that in the future and deliver corrected cells, so to speak. And there's no doubt in my mind that in the future, having your master cells from birth stored away and then available to be delivered to you during your lifetime will ultimately be an avenue to maintain and optimize your health well beyond your predicted lifespan.